Okay, so these are some of the best makeup tips that I've found that I use all the time. These tips are from one of Nikki LaRose's newest YouTube video. That YouTube video will be linked down below so you can go check it out yourself. So like I said, I now do these tips when I do my makeup all the time. So let's do them together. Okay, so the first makeup tip is to not use a primer to prep the skin. Instead, you can do like a nice, simple skin prep. I'm going to first start by using one of my favorite toners. This is the ITK Hydrating Milky Toner. I'm just going to use a cotton round to apply this. I'm also going to focus this on the under eyes as well, instead of using like an eye cream. Another tip is to use the eye creams for a nighttime skincare routine and just use a toner or an essence under the eyes for skin prep. All right, now that that is applied, I'm going to go in with a moisturizer to not only lock in what we applied on for the under eye, and just to also use as a moisturizer as well. I would sometimes use a sunscreen. So once that is applied, and I just used the ITK prebiotic gel moisturizer. This one is one of my favorites. I love it. Okay, next I am going to go in with a sunscreen. This is the Paula's Choice Youth Extending Daily Fluid. One of my favorite sunscreens for all year round, not just the summer. It is amazing. I'm going to put this on. And another tip is to leave this on the skin prep, completely soak into the skin for about 10 minutes. So I'm going to let that kind of soak in. While I like to do that, I'm going to actually take a very small amount of this powder just to get the brows prepped and ready for brow application when we get to that. Okay, so I'll see you back here in 10 minutes once the skin prep has fully dried. So I did forget to apply my lip product for my skin prep, and I'm going to apply it now. I'm going to use the Ravie Beauty Lip Renewal Treatment Oil. This is actually one of my favorites. I only use this to prep the lips, and it's just so good. I forgot to turn it on again. Alright, for a concealer or color corrector tip is to mix your color corrector with your concealer. So I'm going to use the Caliray Hidaway color corrector in the shade Sunlight. I'm going to mix it with a different one actually. Right, so I'm going to place this right underneath the on the under eye area with my Nikki LaRose and BK Beauty the N16 brush. A lot of times the foundation doesn't stick to my nose very well. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to powder my nose before I go in with foundation. So I'm going to use the same powder that we used to prep the brows of my nose. I'm just going to use a small amount of the powder just on that. All right, now let's go into foundation. I haven't used this foundation in a while. This is the Makeup by Mario Skin Foundation. This one is in the shade 3W. I'm going to use the BK Beauty 101 brush. What I like to do is I'm going to start in the center of the face in like a pressing motion. And then once I get into the outer part of the face, I'm going to do a sweeping motion because I want more of the product in the center of the face, and towards the outside of the face, I want lighter coverage. I'm still kind of figuring out the lighting with the Osmo Pocket 3. So probably the next few videos and this video are going to be different lightings. I'm just trying to figure out what is the best lighting for my current filming location. So yeah, okay. So I have the foundation all applied now, and I'm going to now move into concealer. So we did use the Caliray Hidaway Concealer and the NARS Concealer as a color corrector. This time I want to brighten the under eye just a little bit, so I'm going to use a concealer that is a couple of shades lighter than my skin tone. This is the Natasha Denona Hy-glam Concealer in the shade Y1. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to let of the concealer. I'm not going to blend it fully, but I'm just going to blend it slightly, kind of like this. So I can get the most out of this concealer, and so I can keep the coverage of the concealer. And I don't like to kind of go right really close to the under eye. I just leave a tiny bit of a gap when applying this. Okay, so we are going to let that sit for about 10 minutes. While I let that sit, I'm going to go to the brows. For a brow pencil, today I'm going to use the Ravie Beauty Easy Everyday Brow Pencil in the shade Taupe. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just lightly fill them in. At the front of the brow, I'm going to create hair-like strokes to get a really natural looking brow. I like to go in between kind of filling them in and brushing them just so I can achieve that natural look. Right, good. All right, while I still let the concealer kind of set in for a little bit, I'm going to take the Armani eye tint in the shade, I think it says 18M, I have no idea what the shade is, to prep the eyes. I would sometimes use either a concealer or an eye base. Today I'm going to use, well, I guess this is an eye tint, but I love to use this to prep the eyes. Okay, what I'm going to do is I like to take the concealer brush that we used. I'm going to take the Nikki LaRose and BK Beauty, the N16 brush, to blend this in. Okay, I'm going to wait for the rest of the concealer to set and then we will be right back. Okay, so the concealer has fully dried down. Now I'm going to blend it in fully. Another tip that I absolutely love, I was really struggling to apply a highlighter, and then when I found this tip, I don't go back to the way I used to apply highlighter and blush. So I'm going to take a highlighter, and I'm actually going to, or powder highlighter first, and I'm going to use a cream blush on top of the powder highlighter, and it's just so pretty. I love it. So I'm going to take the Dior Backstage Glow Face Palette. I'm going to mix these two shades. I'm just going to place this in the highlighting area. Another tip that I actually recently started is bronzing, and I absolutely love it. So I'm going to take the Rare Beauty liquid blush in the shade Joy. I think this is the perfect shade, I'm not sure, for bronzing. I don't know. And this is the first time I'm doing this, by the way. And I've seen people do it, and I absolutely love it. But I'm going to kind of take off most of the product and just go like this without getting it in my hair. I've never used blush like this before. It's crazy. I am going to mix it with a powder bronzer probably, so this doesn't look too pink because it's looking a little pink to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this powder bronzer. This is the new Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Blurring Bronzer. I'm just going to go right on top of what we, just to give it that more bronzy look. Concealer that we highlighted with, this is the Natasha Denona Hy-glam Concealer in Y1. With this, I'm just going to go right in this area like that. And then I'm going to take the Angie Hot and Flashy, the A505 brush. I'm going to use the tip of the brush, take some of the excess off. I actually need my closer mirror for this. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to place this on the center of my nose, kind of like in a tapping motion, so it's easier for me to create a straight line. I'm going to stop it about right there. I'm going to blend it into the rest of the makeup in a sweeping motion. And then where it connects to the bronzer, I'm going to use a tapping motion. Okay, with the Angie Hot and Flashy brush that we use to apply the concealer down the center of the nose, I'm going to blend it in like that. And I let the concealer kind of set for a second before I go in and blend it. This next tip is for if you have an oily nose. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the powder that we've been using. I'm just going to do a mini bake just on the two sides. And if you have a really oily nose, to also apply it down the middle. I don't have a super oily nose, so I'm going to skip that. No, I have so much powder. Okay, so I'm going to quickly do an eye look off camera because I don't really have a eye makeup tip, so I'll be right back. The last makeup tip I have is how to keep your lip liner from lasting all day. So I'm going to take the powder that we've been using in the cap with the Nikki LaRose and BK Beauty, the N14 brush. First, I'm going to just wipe off the residue of the lip renewal treatment oil from Ravie Beauty, and then I'm going to only apply the powder on the lips. I'm going to use a lip liner and a lipstick that I haven't used in a while. I'm going to start with the Makeup by Mario Ultra Suede Sculpting Lip Pencil in the shade Smoky Pink. Like I said, I haven't used this lip liner in a while, and it's one of my favorites. This technique will really help your lips stay put all day. I really have been loving this technique. So I just lined the lips. Now I'm going to fill them in. Then for lipstick, I'm going to use the Makeup by Mario Ultra Suede lipstick in the shade Erin. Then for lipstick, I'm going to use the Makeup by Mario Ultra Suede lipstick in the shade Erin. For brow gel, I'm going to take the Benefit 24-Hour Brow Setter, set the brows. And today I'm actually going to be using a new glass setting spray. Again, this is my first time using it. There we go. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I use all of these tips all the time. These are definitely very helpful tips for the makeup beginner. And again, the link to the tips video from Nikki LaRose is down in the description, so you can go check that video out for yourself. So I hope you all enjoyed today's video. See you guys in the next one. Bye!